Hello everyone. How's everybody doing today? I am just going to get everything pulled up on my end here while I give you guys a minute to hop on, and we'll make sure it's all working here. I'm not too sure if it looks like it is yet. I think actually we're good. All right, we'll make sure there's no volume on my end. Hi Lena, how are you? Good to see you here. Okay, I think we are good. So I am back with project number 4. I was hoping to do projects number 4 and 5, but I'm actually going to have to come back to you guys tomorrow morning with project number 5 in the Spotlight on Nature series. I almost said Spotlight in Nature. So Spotlight on Nature series. Lena, how did your pierogi making go? Pierogies are one of my favorite things. I love pierogies. We all do around here. They're so yummy. All right. Do you do different fillings, Lena, or do you do like one standard filling? You'll have to let me know how you do yours. I've never made them before. All right. So this is the card I am going to make today as card number 4. I have card number 5 planned. We just had too many things going on today to get card number 5 finished. So I decided I would just let that one go for now. I'll come back in the morning at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time. I will post that tonight so that you guys know when to find me tomorrow. If you're not tuned in, then that way those who are not watching tonight will know what time to come. Oh, yum. So this will be card number 4. And I will do a quick recap here of the other cards. So if you are new, I'm Alanna Wharf, Sleepless Stamper. I am in Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. And I have been doing week-long series to showcase, hi Linda, a particular stamp set for the week, and then giving everybody an opportunity to earn the card kits. You can do so with a $65 purchase at this host code, or with this host code, or you can contact me if you're local and you would like to pick up your own kits and your own order. I also tie in whatever stamp set my stamp club is using for the month. I try to feature that stamp set for a week, and then also my in color club, we feature a stamp set each month. I don't know if I said week, I meant month is for stamp club, and then I feature that as 1 week of the month. So my stamp club members in August, we used Spotlight on Nature, so I am featuring that so that they have an opportunity as well to earn the extra kits, but also to give them extra ideas on how to use their stamp set, and the same for In Color Club. So this is the add-on sort of to my stamp club for the month. So card number 4 is this one. This was card number 3. Card number 2 was this one here, which I also made with my stamp club in a different color scheme. So they would learn how to do it in another, thanks Lena, color scheme. And then one of the cards of the week, I recreate the card that I give them as a gift so that they know how to make the card I've given them as a gift, and that was this one. So this was card number 1. So these are our cards so far in the series, and then my stamp club also made this one here. So we've done quite a few different layouts. I've kind of gone with the same color scheme, and I'm trying to do each of the cards that I make for you guys. So for example, they did this color scheme and we did this color scheme here. So for yesterday, I kind of did the same 2 color schemes. And then I will also make this one in the other color scheme as well. I have all the supplies cut to make this in the navy and coral color scheme for them, or for you guys as well. So we're gonna do this one tonight, and then when I come back tomorrow, I'll have made the navy one and I'll show you guys that also. Okay, so let's get making this one. I will show you guys all the supplies, and then we will get creating. Tomorrow's card will use the dies, so rest assured we will have an opportunity to use more of the Spotlight on Nature dies. I'll also show you guys what I have so far for the navy card. Okay, so we start with a basic white thick card base. It is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Hi Marcia, how are you? I have a 4 by 5 1/4 basic white. And Linda, I'm not sure if I said how are you, so how are you doing too? All the way over in Portage. Is it as hot where you are today? as it is in the city. Holy moly. It's a hot one. I was out pruning tomatoes earlier. Now I just want to make sure that this is the right size before I give you the measurement. I sometimes change things as I go, so then I have to remeasure. So this one is 2 3/4 by 4, and you know what? That's wrong. This should be 2 1/2 by 4, so I'm going to trim that down. It only butts up to where this is, so that's 2 1/2 by 4. Now this colored one, the Berry Burst, actually wondering, let's measure this. Yeah, that one's right. So this one is 2 3/4 by 4. And then I'm going to trim this one down a little bit. I have a Flirty Flamingo scrap, and I'm going to trim this down to between 1/4 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch by 4. Hi, Amy. How are you? All right. Then I have a scrap to stamp my flower on, and I have this die cut here. So this comes in a die cut and a punch. I do not have the punch in this room with me, but I do have the dies. That is the, oh, you know what? Yes, it is here. Okay, so this is the Keeping Tabs dies, or die. It's just one. So you get this one here, and you can actually fold it over. It scores that line there for you, so you can fold it over and use it as a tab. Or I have cut it so that I could have just a small little element here. I was going to stamp my greeting here, and I forgot that, and I went and embossed this layer, and I put it all together. And then I remembered that's where my greeting was going to go. So I had to improvise and come up with something. So I decided on this. The circles were just too big. I was playing around with these in here, and they just weren't. This was too small. And then this just, well, this might have worked, but it just didn't feel quite right. So I switched it up and went with this. So hopefully it still suffices. Okay, so we're going to start with this layer here. We need to stamp that one. We need to stamp this one, and I need to stamp this one. Now, I should also quickly tell you guys what embossing folder this is. So bear with me 1 second, and I'll find that. I sure as heck hope it's still current. Don't you hate when, if you're not a demonstrator doing classes, it doesn't really matter what you use. It does not have to be current. But if you are a demo and you've done a live, don't you just like cringe when you've gone and used something and then you realize, whoops, that was retired. I did that once this catalog already. I thought something was current, and then I had something else that I thought retired, and I had put it in the retired stash. So this one is called Distressed Tile 3D. It's right here. Oh, thank you, Linda. You named it for me right there. Yes, I do love this one. And I know that plaid one in the holiday catalog is going to be a favorite of mine. All right, and then I also have these supplies ready to go that I will use to make my navy one with afterwards. So I'm almost doing like double duty this week with the various colors, but that's okay. I like seeing the same card done in more than one color. Do you guys craft like that? Do you create your cards in one color scheme and then stick with it, or do you stray at all and create with a variety of color schemes? I wanted to do the variety this week because I didn't want all your cards to be the same color scheme as Stamp Club, but I also wanted to give them more ideas with the colors we used, because sometimes they buy the ink pads or the blends to recreate what we're doing in Club, and I want them to have more ways to use it. Okay, so we're going to start with this leaf image. I can't remember who was watching the other day and said, oh, I just love that image. Me too. I think it's just so pretty. You try to make all the same cards like 5 times. That's smart though, because then you're not afraid to give some away. And while you're doing it once, it feels like it doesn't take that much extra time to make another one. It's more work to make the whole card all over again if you're starting from scratch. Hi, Margaret, how are you? So I'm going to stamp this one about right here. That's this leaf image. This is Berry Burst ink. And then I'm going to stamp this like that. I just got some on the table. That's okay. And it'll wipe up. Then I'm going to come in here and fill that in. And then I am going to come in here and fill that in. Berry burst paper. Oh yes, berry burst. I missed your question. Sorry. I'm glad that you were able to answer yourself. I do that often too. And then I'm going to fill this in right there. So now we are all filled in with that. Now I feel like I could have come in with that little crosshatch, but I'm going to skip it. But this might have, if you don't like these little empty spaces there, you could always fill some in with that crosshatch image that also comes from the Spotlight on Nature stamp set. Okay, so we are good with the berry burst on that part. I'm gonna clean up this ink because you guys saw I put that big blob of berry burst on my watercolor paper yesterday. Now I have the Keeping Tabs die cut, and I'm going to just cut along here. Now, unfortunately, I can't really get the 2 out of here because it cuts into the 1, but if you wanted to follow that little indented line, you could get a second one out of there. I'm going to just round this off a little more, or so I'll try. Let's see if I'm successful. Oopsie. Didn't mean to knock them out there. So now I'm going to use this. And I've told you guys many times how I like to mount my stamps. And that is, I put my block, I'm going to just move this a little higher to make sure you guys can see. So I put my block on my grid, and then I take my stamp and I stand above it and I line that greeting up with one of the grid lines that I can see through the block. Then I put my paper lined up to the grid lines, like that. And if I ink this up and stamp and make sure that my block stays parallel to these lines, my greeting should be straight, because it's kind of like I'm treating my lines like a square. All right, now I just need to carefully ink this up. You don't want too much, so just a gentle tap down and straight up. And then I'm going to go as low as I can here because I actually trimmed a little bit off of this die cut. There we go. There. Now I can close this up. I'm all done with my berry burst. So now we can bring this in here, and I'm going to just tuck this in and trim, and I'm using this little curve on each side of the die cut and lining them up with the same part of my cutter on either side to make sure it's straight. And then I'm just taking off about 1/8 of an inch of the die cut, and then that way it's not hanging down quite so far. So I liked that a little bit smaller. All right, so we have those stamped. Now I need to stamp on my basic white layer for coloring, and I am going to use this beautiful flower. Did we ever decide what flower this is? We were talking yesterday and wondering, is it a poppy? Does anybody know the answer to that? If you do know the answer, please let me know. Now, perhaps I can also find that out, but I feel like it's a poppy. I might be wrong. My mom was asking me that the other day as well. And if it is, I feel like this would make a really nice card for Buttercup. Is that a type of flower? Interesting. We're gonna have to look this up. If it is a poppy, I almost said puppy, it's definitely not a puppy, then Remembrance Day cards, if you give those at all. I have, when we had the background stamp, a friend of ours, their son died in Afghanistan, and so we made them a card. All right, so I'm gonna use, I'll tell you guys what colors I'm using. I have Berry Burst. So when I did this with my stamp club, I'm just gonna, sorry for all the clanging here. I was telling you guys earlier in the week, but just in case you missed that, I was telling you guys that we did a 2-tone coloring with one card, and then we did a 3-tone coloring with our second card. So I went with these same colors for this one here, and they are Dark Berry Burst. And then I have light, I don't need Flirty Flamingo. I have, oh, I'm giving you the wrong ones. These are the spares, and the ones I'm actually using are set up here. so dark berry burst, and then I have light pretty and pink, dark petunia pop, and light petunia pop. So that is my gradient. And then for my leaves, I have dark old olive and both light and dark lemon lime twist. And I'll show you again how I got this. I hope you don't mind the same coloring done twice this week, but the layout is totally different. So I'm just flicking. Now often, I was telling you guys this the other day, often you would lay down a light base over the whole the whole image. And I chose not to do that because I just started coloring and it just turned out this way. There was nothing strategic to it. It was just playing around and it happened to work, or so to me it felt like it worked. So I just ran with it. So if you prefer doing a light base, you could do that. I just didn't on my tester, and then just kept with what I was doing. So I did the dark berry burst on the bottom, light pretty and pink on the top. I'm going to come in with the dark petunia pop, and I'm just flicking gently, not hard, because you don't want to destroy the tips of your markers and you don't want to oversaturate your paper. So this is just a gentle flicking. That was dark petunia pop. Now I'm going to bring in light petunia pop so that it slightly blends into the light pretty and pink. There we go. And then now I'm going to bring the light pretty and pink back, and I'm going to flick towards the purples. Whoops, I went out of the lines. I don't like when I do that. Okay, and then I'm also just going to go over that line and blend it out just a little bit. There we are. And then I'm going to come back in one more time with my light petunia pop and just gently flick over that again. And I might even come back in one more time with the light pretty and pink. There we are. And I do need to use my color lifter, which I did not bring in. Oh, yes, I did. It's right here because I went out of those lines and we don't want that. So I'm going to just, well, it's not a big deal if you do, but I have the color lifter, so I'll try to lift those. Okay, so there we are. Now I need to do the same process to all of the other blooms. So we're going to start with dark berry burst, about the lower third of the flower. And then we're going to come in the top third with light pretty and pink, just really gentle. Then we're going to do dark petunia pop, just flicking past where the berry burst is. And again, this is super gentle. I'm barely applying any pressure to the marker tip, both to preserve the tip and to not oversaturate the paper. It's a bummer when you, and then this one, I should just describe that. The light petunia pop just past the purples into the pink. It's a bummer when you have done all this work to color and then you've oversaturated and it starts bleeding way out your image and it blurs the line of your memento, the image that you've stamped. So you don't want that. So it's good to just go very, very gentle. There we are. And again, I might just go over that line one more time with the pretty and pink. But this gives you a nice three-tone effect instead of just, and then I think it's fun to kind of bring in a different color. Instead of them all being purple, you get that nice pink tip to the flowers. Some of my two-tone flowers are some of my favorites in our actual flower garden or our planters. It's not necessarily a garden, but can you still call planters a garden? And I have some dahlias that are pink and coral. And my son that helps water flowers a lot, those are his favorites. He was like, what flower is this? I like this one. He's 17. So I thought that was cute that he had a favorite and it was that one. And then my husband, actually, one of his favorites is a multi-toned petunia. There we are. So that is the bloom. So now we can put these aside, and I'm going to bring back in, or not back, but I'll bring in my greens. So hi, Audrey and Jackie and Karen. I am going to, here, I should bring this closer so you guys can see that at the in-between. So there is my coloring. And for the leaves, I don't mind doing all of them at once. So I'm using dark old olive. I'm following the same principle that I did on my flowers. And I'm just gently flicking dark old olive at the base of each leaf. And there are so many different ways. If you prefer to add the dark on the outside of your leaf and then make a light strip down the middle so that the leaves look curved, you can do that too. You can really just take creative freedom and color however makes sense to you. You do not have to, if you decide to remake these, or if you earn my kits this week, you don't have to do them exactly like I did. You can always color the way that looks good to your eye. I will never judge that. If you are happy creating, that's what matters. Okay, so that was light lemon lime twist at the tips. And now I'm gonna take my dark lemon lime twist and I'm gonna flick from the old olive into the lemon lime twist to blend that line out. And you can kind of carefully go over this line a little bit to blend it out if you want, so that you do less flicking. So blend that out first and then flick, and then it gives you a little bit more lime at the tip than there. So I'll bring that close again so you can see the leaves. It's kind of hard to see from far away. So there's the leaves and the blooms. And now, hi Cindy. And I hope I say this name right, Laws, is that right? And then I'm gonna use my I'm gonna use the dark lemon lime twist, and I'm just going to come over these stem lines. I'm using the bullet tip for this. The other day I used the brush tip. I decided I would try the bullet tip today. I don't often color with the bullet tip, but just to outline these lines, I think it's great for that. So there we are. So that is the flower. Now the painful part, and I'm sorry that you guys have to bear with me on this, perhaps I should have done an extra one of these ahead of time and had it already ready, but there is no die for this guy. So we have to fussy cut, and that takes a little bit of time. So how about we play a game of Ask Me a Question while I fussy cut this for you guys. I'm just doing a closer cut first because it is easier to get your scissors in and around a smaller piece of paper than wiggling it around this big one. So I'm just moving that out of the way. And now I will fussy cut this. So bear with me here. If there are any questions you want to ask while I am fussy cutting, I will try to look up every few seconds at the screen here and read any comments. So when you are fussy cutting, it is, I find, easier, see now I have too much image here to work around, to turn the paper than it is to turn your scissors. And there's gonna be a lot of turning with this one. How many cards in a card kit? You get one of each of the 5 cards for the week. So and then for yesterday's card, I will give, excuse me for 1 second. You would get the supplies to make this card, but I'm going to include both the coral and the berry burst strips so that recipients can choose what color scheme. And if they don't want to do either of those color schemes, it's an easy switch out from the cardstock and the strip. And the descriptions, you would just come back to these videos. These videos will remain on Facebook Live. So once you get your kit, you will just come back and rewatch the video. And I will have pre-cut everything for you. And to earn them, it is a $65 purchase. using either the host code or by contacting me. If you are from afar, it's probably easier to use the host code because then you only have to pay the shipping on your product once instead of paying shipping and then also paying me to mail it to you. I will mail your card kit to you anyway, but the shipping of the product would be cheaper using the host code. But a $65 purchase will earn you the 5 card kits. And then you just tell me. This one is open until Wednesday. I'm not closing it on Sunday because I'm not done the cards yet. And so it'll be open until Wednesday. And then you just place your order and then email me and say that your order is to qualify for the Spotlight on Nature cards. And then when we get into a new set of cards tomorrow, it would be the same thing. It would just be the new set. The ordering period will be until next Sunday. And then people who want this coming week's cards would just do the same. Email me and let me know that it is next week's cards they want. So there's a little bit of overlap in the ordering time this week. And you just have to let me know which kit you want. I have to do a week of magnolia blooms and a week of, trying to remember what the other one is. Gosh, I can't remember. Wildly flowering, or is it Wildflower Designs? That is what they are. I didn't keep up with the weeks in July. Oh, thanks, Cindy. It is, a lot of fussy cutting. And then I just go and bend that one. The nice thing is I put a little dimensional under each bloom. So even if I bend it while I'm coloring, which I totally bent this one when I was coloring or cutting this one. I completely bent one and I just popped a dimensional under there and it was good. Now, unfortunately, I am not cutting this part out in the middle, but if you wish to, you can get an X-Acto knife and you can snip that off if you prefer that. I know Lena likes fussy cutting. Cindy, are you a fussy cutter? Do you like to fussy cut? I know people say it's either it's either they love it or they hate it. Now, if you're just tuning in, I was hoping to do cards 4 and 5 today, but we just had too many things on the go before my live. So I am going to come back at 11 a.m. Central tomorrow, Central Daylight, and I will do card number 5. I have it all in the works, and then I will also show you guys this card in the navy version tomorrow. I'm hoping that I can do tomorrow's card in both color versions for you guys as well. And then that way, it was just too rushed to get 4 of them done between the 2 different color schemes. So I figured rather than mess it up and not bring you the card I wanted to, it was best to just say fussy cutting never turns out that good. I wish there was a die for this. I wouldn't be sad if this was one of the sets. I don't know that they've ever done this, but if they, you know how during Celebration sometimes we'll get a set of dies later for something, I would not be sad if they brought us like say Spotlight on Nature. Oh my gosh, I cannot get the right angle on this. If they brought us Spotlight on Nature 2, because these circle dies are called Spotlight on Nature, if they gave us Spotlight on Nature 2 and gave us a die for the flowers and the butterflies, I'd be okay with that. Alrighty, so there is our fussy cut flower. Thank you for bearing with me while I snipped away at that. I just need to clean up one little, it's kind of like a little hangnail. There we go. Just don't want that hanging off there. Alrighty, so now we just need to assemble. I'm going to move these over because that is not the card we're working on, but I will bring in all of these pieces again. and we will just do a quick review. So these are the ones that I have. Wish there was a paper pumpkin add-on that went with this. Oh, yeah, that would have been fun. Okay, so these are for the navy version. I may not put the coral. I have to decide that, or flirty flamingo. Maybe that's Calypso coral, actually. That's Calypso coral. I may not use that one for the navy, but I might. I just have to see how my coloring turns out first. Okay, and I need to trim this one down. I forgot that. So we're gonna give this a quick trim. I will trim it down to 4. And Karen, if you're still here, are you cringing at me using this cutter? Yeah, I do like the navy too, Amy. So I'm gonna make one with that too. Now, I don't want this quite a 1/4 of an inch. I liked the thinner strip, so I am just trimming this down. If I didn't already have a strip, I would just use a bigger piece and cut a little bit off, but I already had this piece ready to go. But if it's easier for you to start with a bigger piece and just back off a little more than 1/8 of an inch, that is probably easier than fussing with cutting a tiny little strip. Okay, now I have this 4 by 5 1/4 piece because it's easier for me to anchor all of these pieces to the white and then dimensional this. I also need to take this one down to 2.5. So we're gonna not discount, sorry. Take some off of this. Oh my goodness. It's kind of like we're discounting the size of the paper, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is 4 by 2.5. We're going to glue this one down. And you could use the embossed or debossed side, whichever you prefer. I'm gonna glue all these down. There we are. Now this one is going to go right in here. It's gonna butt right up to that, and I can see that my paper is a little bit off from one layer to another. So I'm actually going to, this one's a little bit long, so I'm gonna trim that up first. If you guys ever watch my lives, you know that I like to trim the layers as I go. I like to have clean edges, and I find it easier to tidy them up as I go rather than trying to do it all at once after. Sometimes you just have to do it all at once after, but it's a little easier to get through the layers if you clean as you go. It's like cooking. We try to do the dishes as we go or clean things up as you go. It's way less of a mess to clean it up as you go than if you try to do it all at the end, right? Doesn't always work, but sometimes. Lennon loves to cook and to bake, and he had a friend over baking twice the last week, and he did do it that way, and he was like, man, it's so much easier. Lennon is our 17-year-old, for anybody who doesn't know that. Sorry that that is so loud. I just want to clean that up. I'm going to have to flip that one over and do a little from the front too, just to make sure it's clean. There. Okay, so now all my edges are nice and clean, and the dog is scratching at the door. So we'll see if someone else distracts her, if I need to let her in so you don't hear. That takes talent. Which part takes talent? The trimming it slimmer? Okay, now I want to glue this one onto here as well, and I will need to clean this one up a little bit over there. I'm actually going to flip it the other way. Now I'm just going to run a thin bead, and this is a super thin bead. I will bring this closer so you can see. Just a really thin bead of Tombow. And then that way you don't get cutting small strips. Yeah, Ryan, when he helps me prep kits, he won't cut the small strips. I don't blame him. Most people do not like to cut the small ones. They let me do that. All right. So we now have this. I do want to distress the edges just a little bit. And this is easier now that they are anchored onto this larger piece. I don't need to worry as much about them tearing, particularly this one, with it being textured. When it's textured, it can be easier to rip the edges if you're distressing them with your scissors. So this time I anchored them down first. Thanks, Amy. All right, now I am going to wrap my twine around here. So this is gonna go, oopsie, kind of right along that edge where the Calypso Coral meets the Berry Burst. And there we go. Get my twine out of the way. Now that this is on here, I'm gonna just flip this over. This is not tied yet, but that's okay. I'm gonna use my dimensionals. I want it wrapped around before I put this down, and then I'll flip it over and attach it. And it will be easier to tie my bow with it all anchored down. So we'll just get these off. My gosh, this drives my OCD nuts. I put those on either side so it'd be a little balanced, but eek. If you have OCD, I'm sorry. That's probably driving you nuts as well. Okay, so let's anchor that down. I'm just holding these off to the side. Now, with those all in place, this is easier to deal with. Plus, I want to actually dimensional this down, and then I'm going to tie the bow in place between the leaves. I'll show you here. The bow is just tucked in between this leaf and this stem, so it's easier to do that in exactly the right place if I have my flower down first. So I am going to get this all ready. These are the mini dimensionals. Now I have some borders that I'm going to snip into here. So each little peak on these borders I am using to get 2. This time I got 3, but just snipping those up the middle and in between each one. And then that way I can just place them behind the leaves. And then they have some support. Whoopsie, that one went a little too far. But look at that, you can kind of see the gradient even through the back of how I colored that. But this is a nice, easy way to, my gosh, put dimensionals behind those leaves too, so that they are still nice and supported. And I've got this skinnier, one's a little skinnier. I'm trying to grab that one for that tiny little leaf up at the top here. There we go. So if you're just tuning in, I have already done the coloring. This is the card that we are making. And I'm just getting this ready with dimensionals to put onto the card base. Now, I didn't bother with this little leaf, but I am going to put one kind of right there in the middle. So this is all ready to put down, other than the dimensional backings. We've got to get those off. Some of the leaf ones, I've got to move this one over. There we go. Some of the little ones behind the leaves already have their backing off. They came off while I was lifting them off the sheet. The most intensive part of these dimensionals is peeling all the backings off. There we are. Okay. So we are going to, I see I need to move one over a little bit. It's kind of peeking out behind the leaf and I don't want that. Okay, here we go. So let's get this ready. I'm going to hold these layers of twine up against the coral, and then this is going to go, I want to make sure I have some space where I can see this twine in between this leaf and this stem so that I can tie my bow right between those. So this is going to go about right here, And then that way, that can go there. There we are. Now I can scoot this up and I can wiggle these two twine ends over in between these leaves here. Now I can tie my knot and just wiggle the knot over in between those leaves. So the knot is right between those leaves, and now I can tie it there. I might even still stick a little glue dot. Normally I stick a little glue dot underneath there. I'm gonna try to tie it without, but we'll see. I may need to. Oh, we're good. Okay, so we're just gonna cinch that back. So when I cinch back, I try to hold the knot in place and keep each bow flat or each loop flat. That way it's less likely to twist while I'm cinching back. Again, that's one of those things that when you've gone to all the effort to tie your bow, you don't want it to then twist on you when you're just cinching it back. So there's my bow. Now I can take this greeting that I stamped on the Keeping Tabs die, and we are going to just tuck that right in there. I kind of put these stems, I should have angled this a little more, but that's okay. So now we're gonna just glue this one right up against that Calypso coral, and it's slightly tucked under the leaf. There. Oopsie. And I wanted to kind of tuck it underneath the twine, so I didn't dimensional that. I decided to keep it flat, but if you prefer it raised, you could always do that. But I also didn't want it popped up higher than this little strip when it was kind of anchored to that, if that makes sense. Now we need to embellish. This one has a few little butterflies in here. So we are going to use the brass butterflies. I hope these don't ever go away. I just love these. I do want to try to finish up this sheet though. So I'm going to use the large ones off of here. And we are going to tuck this in here. And then tuck this one in here. These are both large ones. And then I'm gonna grab a small one off this other sheet, and it is gonna angle a little bit the other way and go right up there. Now these two, you could always switch the position of your butterflies. If that's not quite where you want them, you can always switch that out and put them somewhere else. So that is card number 4 in the series. I will do a quick recap here. Thank you, Linda and Lena. I appreciate that. So I'll do a quick recap. And I did forget to remind you guys, if you are interested in doing our Stampin' Cross Country virtual retreat that takes place virtually on September 27th, thanks Cindy, and 28th, you have until the 27th of August to get early bird pricing. It is $10 less if you register by the 27th. Overall, registration is open until September 3rd so that we can order all of the products on September 4th when the catalog goes live. I have a link on my page that you can register at and read all about it. If you want me to send it to you, you can message me or comment here and I can make sure to send you the link directly. But we're going to be using the More Than Autumn bundle. I will just, oh, I don't think I can show you guys the book yet. The More Than Autumn bundle, it is the one that's super cute with a coffee cup and pie and cute little word die cuts. I'll try to make a card that I can show you guys, an alternate card that I can show you guys, but we'll be using More Than Autumn and the Snowy Scenes Suite. Oh my gosh, that's a tongue twister. For that event, and it will run Friday, Saturday. You will get to make 10 projects with myself and 4 other demonstrators. The other 4 are in the US, and we are really excited to bring this event to you guys. So don't forget to register for that one by the 27th if you want the discounted pricing. And then for this one, it's actually the same date. If you want to earn the Spotlight on Nature cards, you have until the 27th, so Wednesday, to, I believe that's Wednesday, to either place your $65 order online with this host code, or you can contact me if you're local and you want to pick up your products locally and your kits locally. So This is open across Canada. And then you would just come back and watch these videos once I'll send it to you, Lena, thank you. Once you get your kits, then you would just come back and watch these videos, and that would be your tutorial. So this is card number 1 that you would get the supplies for. This is card number 2 you would get the supplies for. This is card number 3. Now for card number 3, I'm going to give you both the Calypso Coral or Flirty Flamingo and Berry Burst strips. Then also, like I said earlier, it's an easy swap out. If you don't want to color in either of those colors, you could substitute a small little strip of DSP and cardstock in any color. All right, so we have those, and then card number 4. And tomorrow we'll do card number 5 at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time, and you'll get to see what the final card is. And then you can come back, watch these videos again. They will be on Facebook as well as YouTube. And on YouTube, the cover photo of the video is actually a photo of the card. So if that's easier for you to find them than scrolling through Facebook, you can always go to YouTube and watch the videos there. And then we'll tag them with Spotlight on Nature too. So you could just find, it should work that you could find them easily that way. All right, so that's card number 4. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you being here and watching. Let me know if you're going to be here tomorrow morning, so 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time, to see card number 5. I'm going to try to do it in both color schemes again. So like we have these 2 and then these 2. So I'm going to try to get this card done in the navy that I have all cut here. I just have to get it colored and assembled. So these colors here, and then tomorrow's card I'm going to try to have done in both colors for you guys as well. So hopefully we will see you guys in the morning for card number 5, and then I will also come back tomorrow evening with the first card of next week's series. So we'll be all caught up for this set tomorrow morning, and then we'll start again in the evening with a new one. I just have to decide if it's going to be Magnolia Mood or Wildflower Designs. Not a morning person. Well, Lena, you can catch the replay. So your time, that would be 9 a.m., right? That is pretty early to get up and watch a live, but I'll make sure that the replay is posted that you can watch as well. And I'll message you that link, Lena. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope you guys have a good remainder of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.